Hello everyone. This lecture is about sensor and instrumentation, the basic definitions of the sensors and transducers. So let us see what is the need of sensor in a present scenario. Sensor and transducer are used for automation in industries, in construction sites, domestic applications, space exploration, in defense equipments, health services and other applications. So it helps us to automate the process. Whatever industry is doing in the process, it helps us to automate that. And we can see that the data analytics field is emerging as an exponential rate. So where from the data is coming? The sensors and instruments collect data from the environment, and that data can be used for the analysis purpose. The sensors are also known as the heart of instrumentation. Reason: instrumentations generally do the measurements to monitor process and operation, to control process and operation, and carry out some analysis. But without the feedback from the sensors, how the value is responding, we will not be able to know the process is going as per the requirement or not. The IoT, Internet of Things, first component is sensor. So the instrumentation system, we can say it's very much similar to a human being senses. We are using our five senses like eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And these five senses collect the information from the external environment and give to the brain. Let us get familiar with few terms. So as I have told you that these five senses are giving the data to the brain, and brain is processing that data, and some decision has been made based on that data. Similarly, measurement system also take the data, and the measurement system can be defined as the process of collecting the values of physical parameters such as length, distance, temperature, pressure, force, light intensity, humidity, etc. Traditionally, we were using the methods such as the scale to measure the length, and weights were measured using the rocks and the weighing machines. But with the help of sensors and transducers, this helps us to automate all the process and taking all the measurements. So the measurement system comprises of the sensor, transducer, and the signal processing device. What is the definition of sensor? So sensor in general, like sensors of human being, we can define sensors as a device which respond to a stimulus like a human sensors do. It sends the output to the processor for further processing action. It may display it somewhere or it may store it. Okay. And it is a device which converts one form of energy to the other. Like if there is a pressure, this pressure can be converted into a form of displacement. Take an example of balloon. When I give a air pressure in the balloon, it expands. So that expansion I can take as a measurement of the pressure, how much pressure or the volume of the air has been filled up. So the sensor is a device which responds to a stimulus. The Instrument Society of America defines a sensor or the transducer as a device which provides usable output in response to a specified measurement. The measurement can be a physical quantity or property or the condition which is measured, and the output is generally defined by Instrument Society of America as an electrical output. And basically these are employed to automatically carry out information as well as process monitoring activity. Now what is transducer? So in the below figure you can see a lot of different kinds of sensors in the transducer which are available in the market. Let us see the working of the transducer. So transducer is generally a combination of sensor and a signal conditioning circuit. It takes the value from the sensor, it processes and gives you a meaningful information. It receives energy in one form or state and transfer it to convenient form or state, and that convenient form is generally electrical output. Whereas sensor is generally taking a physical variable and change it into a any other physical variable such as R, inductance, capacitance, resistance, maybe in the form of displacement. Like I have taken example of pressure. Temperature can change resistance, right? And the voltage can provide the vibrations and so on. So we live in an analog world with digital means of communication and control mechanical objects with electrical signal. So this can be possible just because of the device like sensors and transducer, which help us to converting data from one domain to another. Taking an example of speech, we speak in a mic, and that mic converts that voice, or you can say the noise signal, into an electronic signal. That electronic signal is processed and is given in the form of current and voltage, which is transmitted as an electromagnetic wave. So this electromagnetic wave travels in the air, and at the receiver end it is again processed back by electronic and converted to a inverse transducer. This inverse transducer converts into a sound waveform back. The advantages of sensor are: it reduces the requirement of skilled and experienced laborers, it helps us to achieve ultra precision, and it reduces the downtime or the alarm the failure of any subsystem. Continuous monitoring by a manual person is not required. The sensor is giving output, and automatically we can check any failure of a subsystem is occurring or not. This will help us to reduce the downtime also. So let us now move on for the classification of sensors. The sensors can be classified based on following categories. First is they are classified on the basis of transaction principle. Then the primary input quantity they are taking in and converting. Third is the material and the technology. Next classification is the based on material and the technology they are using. The classification is based on the application they are using in industrial or non-industrial use, the property, cost and accuracy, or you can say the response time. As you can see in our figure, we have an automatic sanitizer machine. A person can place a hand, and that hand can be sensed by any of the sensor, and then the sanitizer will come out through the nozzle. So the sensing of a hand can be done by using an IR sensor or an ultrasonic sensor or other PIR motion sensor also. So there are various ways. So we classify sensor based on their input sensing quantity or the transaction principle or the technology used. So the classification of sensor based on sensing principle. So some of the stimulus can be in the form of sound waves, acoustic like ultrasonic. Some of the stimulus can be electric, a current, charge, potential electric field, and we can sense the permittivity and the conductivity of the material also. This can also makes and helps to sense a physical quantity. Another stimuli can be in the form of magnetic field or magnetic flux or permeability. A stimulus can be a thermal in the form of temperature change, specific heat, or thermal conductivity. The classification on based on the mechanical can be to sense the position, acceleration, force, pressure, stress, strain, mass, density, momentum, torque, shape, roughness, stiffness, crystallinity, and structure. And some sensor can be based on the optical properties. So these optical properties can help to find out the refractive index of the material, reflectivity of absorption, and emissivity. Now based on the input quantity of the sensor, they are going to measure the displacement, position, or the proximity, or they are going to measure the temperature, velocity, motion, or the light. So this classification is based on what they are going to sense. What is the input quantity? Whether it is infrared, whether it is based on the touch, whether it is sensing the ultraviolet, it is sensing a gas, a chemical, or it is sensing biosignals from the human body. This can be different types of classification. Application can be industrial and non-industrial. Industrial sensors are those which are used in process control, measurement, and automation. Like in a car manufacturing industry, we have to cut the sheets metal, and the sheet metal has to cut in a particular length. So sensing that length, the sensor is used that sensor will be called as industrial sensor. Whether the sensor is coming or not, that means a car has been reached at a particular point or not, or the calculation of some bottles in a packaging industry, those all sensors can be called as process control. Whereas the sensors in a car, inside a car, which is giving us the indicator of fuel, which is giving an indication of door open and close, those sensors are used called as non-industrial sensors. They are used in automobiles. The sensor used in a washing machine to sense it is filled, water has been filled or not. The timer is there. In an aircraft, in the medical equipments to check temperature, blood pressure, ECG of a patient. Those all sensors are non-industrial sensors. Now, what are the criteria to choose a sensor? There can be various criteria depending upon the application. So first is what parameter is being sensed. Like you want to sense the temperature or pressure or some other parameters. So first is that criteria. We will choose a sensor based on the sensing principle. Then second criteria is their operating principle. To sense the temperature, we can have various type of sensors which gives us output in the form of resistance, which may gives us output in the form of expansion of a metal like thermocouples, thermopiles, etc. So we need to decide which principle is going to be used. Third criteria can be power consumption. It is running on AC power or DC power, and how much current it is consuming or how much total power of the system is there. This defines the life. If we are using a battery, then that will be dependable on the power consumption of the sensor. Next criteria is the accuracy. How much closeness to the true value that sensor is giving. Does we require that much accuracy? Suppose of a 0.1 degree Celsius of a human body may not matter much, but in a process industry such as rocket propulsion, that 0.1 degree Celsius may be a very important factor to sense. Okay. Similarly, the tilt and acceleration of that rocket, the accuracy should be very precise. So that is one criteria. Then the environment condition where we have to go, the sensor is going to be implemented. It is going to be used in high temperature condition like an industry boiler, or it is going to be used in a home condition, or it is going to be used in an environmental condition, in a cold condition or a hot condition. Depending upon that, also we will decide the sensor. And the packaging is important factor. It has to bear up the force also. Wear and tear is there, or some hard impact is going to be affecting the sensor or not. Next criteria is the cost. A low cost sensor or the high cost sensor can be used. These are the properties to choose a sensor. First is the range. The range, we are going to use sensor in which particular values we need to sense from 0 degree to 100 degrees Celsius or more than that. So that also matter in the sensing selection. Sensor selection, if we are taking sensor which can sense 1000 degrees Celsius, but the requirement is up to 50 degrees Celsius, then it will be of no use. It is unnecessarily will include the complexity of the sensor, the cost, and it may not be of very much use. Resolution is the smallest value that can be sensed and limit the measurement. The calibration and repeatability. Repeatability is producing the output for the same type of input. If it is giving the same input, then we say that the instrument is good repeatable. It is giving the same value. It is not varying the value for the same input. So we need to calibrate the sensor based on that input also. Sensitivity, stability should be important. It should be constant over a period of time. Response time required, like in a rocket application, we need a quick response time within a microsecond or nanosecond. If the sensor is not giving the response, then it may lead to the diversion of the trajectory of the rocket. But in a home appliances, the response time can be of in a seconds also. linearity. For a small change, like suppose for a 5 volt change in the input, it is giving a small change in the output. For the next 5 volt change in the input, is it giving the same change in the output? That is the linearity. Okay. Non-linearity is generally an indication of deviation of the curve of actual measurement from the curve of ideal measurement. So if it is non-linear, then it may deviate from the ideal measurement. Ruggedness, it is the measure of durability when the sensor is used in the extreme operating condition. And the hysteresis. Hysteresis is defined as the difference in the output at any measurable value within the sensor specified range. Suppose I am starting measuring from 0 volt to 10 volts. So I am slowly increasing the voltage. It is giving me a curve. Okay. So this curve, if I am increasing, so let the curve goes like this. I am putting some loading condition like resistance when the voltage is increasing. So it is the current also is increasing in a linear way. But as I am going to reduce the load and the voltage, the response may not be given back as we were increasing the condition. It may follow some other path like this. Okay. And again after this, if I am again increasing the value in the loading condition, now the path is difference. So this difference is generally called as the hysteresis. Okay. For the same value of input, the loading and unloading conditions are different. So this is, you can say, a hysteresis loss from here to here. So it is the characteristics that transducer is being unable to repeat its functionality when used in opposite direction of operation. When I am increasing the voltage, it is giving some other output. When I am decreasing the voltage in opposite direction, it is giving some other output. So this is the linearity. Now some transducer based on the principle of operation. The first classification can be based on the transducer is resistive, inductive or capacitive. As I told you, the transducers are generally the sensors which converts one form of energy into an electrical form. Okay. It is consists of a sensors plus a transduction element. So in a resistive type of transducer, we can have a strain gauge. We will see later in the next lecture. The change in resistance can give some change in the voltage. Inductive type can be a linear variable differential transformer, and capacitive type proximity sensors are there. Next classification of the transducer is whether they are active or passive. That means active transducers are those which does not require external power. As you can see in the figure, a thermocouple having two different types of metal A and metal B are joined together at a junction A and junction B. These junctions are kept at different temperature T1 and T2. So there is a flow of electron, and this flow of electron is dependent upon the difference in the temperature T1 and T2. So this is giving us a voltage based on difference in the temperature T1 and T2. This V voltage is our output of the sensor. These are called as the active or self-generating voltage. Whereas passive sensors, which consist of resistance, inductance and capacitance, like LVDT, we have to provide an external power source, and that external power source will help to generate a signal which will be dependent upon the stimulus of the physical parameter. Next type of transducer can be primary and the secondary. The primary transducer are in direct contact with the measuring physical parameters. Like here in the figure, we are measuring pressure. So this pressure is given to a Bourdon tube, which is a huge question mark shaped Bourdon tube, and we are filling the pressure, that the gas which is giving exertion of the pressure, which is exerting the pressure. And this Bourdon tube free end, this free end will be moving. It will be straightened up as depending upon the pressure. So this Bourdon tube is called as a primary transducer. Now, if we connect this Bourdon tube through a cord and a pulley to an LVDT, this motion of this Bourdon tube is given to LVDT core, this core. So this LVDT will move as the Bourdon tube free end will move. So this LVDT motion is dependent upon the Bourdon tube motion, whereas we were measuring the pressure. So it is indirectly measuring the pressure with the through the Bourdon tube. Okay. LVDT is similar like a transformer. In a transformer we have just one primary and one secondary, but in LVDT we have two secondary windings, and the voltage induced in those secondary windings, we take a differential output from those secondary windings, and that is our output voltage. The core movement will change the induced voltage in secondary winding S1 and S2, and that difference in voltage of the S1 and S2, ES1 and ES2 will give us the output voltage. Next type of classification is the analog and digital transducer. Analog signals are continuous function of time, or take an example of sine waveform, which is continuously varying and has infinite values over the period of time. Whereas digital values have some discrete values which are defined levels, such as in binary operations we have ones and zeros. So in the figure you can see a thermocouple is giving continuous variation of the signal or data. So output signal is in the form of analog. Whereas we have a rotating disc, an encoder, which is based on the light, and we are getting some pulses. So these pulses are counted and displayed on a form of digit. So this type of transducers are called as the digital transducer, which are giving the values in the digits. So this was all for the introduction.